La sărbătoarea mierii de la Blaj, din inima Transilvaniei, am avut ocazia să stăm de vorbă cu doamna dr. Fani Hatjina, cercetător științific la Institutul Dimitra din Grecia, institut care se ocupă cu studiul animalelor și, bineînțeles, al albinelor. Am stat de vorbă despre tradiția creșterii albinelor, dar și despre problemele actuale ale apiculturii, despre importanța conservării raselor locale de albine. Vă invităm așadar la un dialog extrem de interesant, credem, pentru toți cei care sunt interesați de universul fascinant al albinelor, pentru că trebuie să conștientizăm că albinele sunt responsabile de polenizare și, prin urmare, de alimentația noastră de zi cu zi, pe lângă faptul că ne dăruiesc aceste apicole atât de bune pentru sănătatea noastră.
My name is Fani Hatjina. I come from Greece. I am a biologist as a profession and training. And since I started working, I'm working only with honeybees. I was doing my PhD studies on pollination, behavior of bees, and I really love this interaction of bees with the environment, and I continue later on. When I finished the university, I didn't know really what to do, and it was the time that my father just started having a couple of colonies. And it was really amazing because at that period, many people started to have colonies for keeping bees for a second job. And just very soon crisis came and things like that. So the population of honeybees in Greece has been increased a lot, but it's not something new for us because it is a kind of a very, very old and great tradition. Since the ancient times, people were keeping bees, and we can really hear and read in Aristotle's books about how is the colony, how they behave, something about the diseases, who's really dominating the behavior of the bees. Okay, they did a big mistake at that period. They thought it is a king, but it is a queen, but still they knew that it's one person. So it's really, really a long tradition, and you can see that also depicted on coins, ancient coins and things like that. But what I saw as tradition, it's not the coins, but they are the traditional types of hives, that they are different in different places of Greece. In the north are skeps, and in the south are cylinders or upright skeps made with clay. And in many, many places you go, they excavate, they find something, and people still keep some of these findings. So it is, yes, a long tradition which is, for us, it's really like, you know, the beekeeper feels like this is what he has to do to be in the nature. Well, nowadays we have been increased a lot in numbers and also in colonies. And I think that Greece, together with Hungary, we are competing in the highest number of beekeepers per square kilometers for the density of the bees. We also have quite a big production of honey, but we are not the first country because we are not that big country. And that brings me into the saying why it is important. When I thought my father started having bees, he said, you know, this is very important for the agriculture and for our economy. And you are a biologist, why not working with bees? So you can help us in the village also. And I thought that was a very good idea. So that's how I started my father studies on bees. And well, I did my PhD in pollination, but then the need of the beekeepers in a public institution like the one that I'm working, it really tells you what kind of subjects you should work on. So I'm not working on pollination, but I'm working on the effect of the pesticides on the bees. So this also, of course, brings me to study the behavior of the bees. and the behavior in the field, but also the effects on their body. So we are studying the physiology of the bees. And this is one direction. And people really want to know what are the real effects of the pesticides. And here there is something important also for the beekeepers, because pesticides we usually call the phytosanitary products. But pesticides could be also the chemicals that the beekeepers put in their colonies. So sometimes I'm trying to address this issue and tell the beekeepers how and why they should be very careful with the chemicals they put inside. One very important subject as well that we are working on in my institution is the breeding, what we were just hearing in the lecture now. I mean, how to breed and improve the genetic stock of the local bees, and then we go to the conservation. We believe that we need to breed local bees, because the local breeds or local bees or populations or subspecies, they have been shown, they have proved that they are very well adapted to the local conditions. And local condition is the availability of food, is the climate. The climate changes, but they have this plasticity, and they need to be adopted as well. Is the enemies, is the management practice as well. It's everything globally, it's the environment. And they are better adopted than the foreign populations. And the institution that I'm working is called Division of Apiculture of the Institute of Animal Science. So, and recently I'm also the director of the institute, and in the whole institute we try to keep breeds of animals, cows, bees and sheep, that they are local, that they are special, and try to understand and also show to producers what is the qualities of each of these particular lines or subspecies. So that's the whole idea. And as a director of the institute, I also support this even further with the new researchers. Because this is one part that I'm really very active on. That is why I was asked to give a lecture this morning on conservation. Conservation of the local breeds. Because with all the importations that happened in each country, in Romania, I suppose, like in Greece, like in France, like everywhere, the beekeepers and the producers, they want to have as a stock what they think that is better for their production. But we tend to lose a lot of, a high percentage of these stocks. Probably one reason are the diseases, but one reason is that this genetic stock is not well adapted. And if we want to go to the next generation to be able to handle better this genetic material, we need to conserve, to preserve it. So we need to have in each country a kind of a conservation areas somehow established to keep the characteristics of this population. That was my talk in the morning. And if you see that the local breeds, with the breeding that can take part in each country, with the conservation, and then with the management of the bees, you will see that at the end we go around, and even the effect of the pesticides could be smaller, and their resistance to diseases could be higher. So the outcome could be less losses and better honey, of course, better quality of products for the consumer, but of course better income for the producer. This time now we try to locate these populations and to have conservation areas, all to breed so we can increase them. And it seems that our populations, for example, with the Siciliana bee from Sicily, with Rudneri bee in Malta or Ligustica, they are not only different in morphological characters. The Ligustica is called the golden bee because it's a little bit bigger and more yellow. Our bee, the Macedonica, is more, the yellow is very light, and Cecropia has a kind of a reddish brownish in the abdomen. This is something that people sometimes they try to separate. But what makes them different is the way they behave. So some of them, they have different behavior in swarming, how quickly they reproduce and leave the nest. Some of them, they are robbing a lot. Some of them, they are more calm. Some they are more aggressive, like they are dummy bee. And because of their behavior, people choose them for their job. And that's the nice way. The same happens in Africa, the same happens in Asia. And then we come to a state when we talk about Apis cerana, not Apis mellifera, Apis cerana, which is a bee that lives now in smaller cavities and has resistance to varroa. These are really, really fundamental differences between the bees. And if we don't preserve them, we will lose them, because hybridization, as we said in the morning, it brings variety, but this variety is not stable. We need stable variety, biodiversity with the good meaning of it, and sustainable breeding, as we talked about. And I suppose that the beekeepers, of course, they can do their own breeding and their own selection, because somebody wants to have a bee that produces quickly numbers of population, adult bees, because he wants to split and sell. Another one wants to collect honey. And some others, like the talk we just heard, is about royal jelly. So you need to select the bees, the queens and the drones, that they can give you offspring, that they can produce more royal jelly. Because this is a kind of a trait that you try to breed. And beekeepers are interested about that, and the scientists, we just try to help them doing this. That's our job, in fact. Everything that we do, it has to be done in accordance with what the environment teaches you to do. That's what we call sustainable. Something that it's breeding, selection, whatever, it has to be sustainable, because then you will not have it otherwise in the next generations, in a couple of years. And agriculture today requires methods that they are intensive, but we face quite a lot of problems. So with intensification of agricultural methodology, we also need to have what we call IPM, integrated pest management, sustainable breeding. All of these terminologies that they sound really difficult and complicated, they are simple in fact. They just show that whatever you do in agriculture, it has to go in accordance with the environment and nowadays the climate change as well. Because otherwise it will not be productive, and it has to be productive. And it has to be a healthy organism, whatever this organism is. Otherwise, you lose it. And from the other side, you want to have a kind of a management practice that it will allow animal stock to be healthy, productive, but also to produce high quality products for the producer. High quality products, we mean the honey, the royal jelly, we mean the pollen, we mean propolis, we mean venom and wax. There are many and different. And all of them, with a good management practice, they can have a very good quality, because the environment can give you the first source of it. So if we go hand by hand with the environment, then we can have good population, healthy environment, healthy animals and good products. Because we are talking about healthy environment and healthy humans, we should always remember that because the bees are very sensitive. It seems that the bees, but not only the honeybees, now I'm talking about the other bees, the solitary bees, the bumblebees, they are very sensitive on changes in the environment, even accumulation of CO2, even carbon, this is the carbon dioxide, or I don't know, other chemicals that they are in the atmosphere because of the gas pollution, yes. And because they are exactly so sensitive, we can always use them as monitoring of the quality of the environment. And what we try also to increase nowadays is to increase the concept of urban beekeeping. Beekeeping around the cities. Because if the bees can live around the cities and we can have more flowers and we can have some bees even on our gardens in public places, or have green roofs, or have bees as close as possible to the cities, that means that, and they can thrive, that means that we live in a healthy environment because they are monitoring the quality of the environment. The subject with the pesticides, it's quite, goes back generations, but the last 10 years, the use of specific families of pesticides, the neurotoxic substances, the neonicotinoids, is a big, very big problem. But we managed last May to have the European Parliament to have a decision to ban the use of these, 3 of these neonicotinoids. And in France now, their own parliament, they stop almost everything. In big cultivations and smaller ones, but also on the seeds of the plants. That was a very big victory. Many organizations, beekeeping federations, beekeeping associations, and environmentalists, we fight for many years about that. And we hope that every country will adopt this, and we will not have exceptions of the rule. So this is a fight that it is continuous, because with so many chemicals in the atmosphere, this is not good for the bees, and the bees can detect it easily because immediately we can have these effects. As I said, it's the monitoring of the environment. But all these chemicals, finally, they arrive on our plate, on what we eat every day. And what we eat every day, it's not exactly what we should do for a healthy environment. So with the less chemicals in the atmosphere in general, in the water, because all of these, they go in the soil, they go in the water we drink, we will have a better life. We need to have a better life.